Hello everybody, Nick McDonald speaking. Thank you for joining us for this week's dollar index and currency market commentary. Just a quick couple of updates. First thing, it is President's Day in the USA today, so I hope that you are enjoying a nice vacation day. If you are in the US, please beware that the markets will also be on holiday, so it'll be very limited trading hours and very light volumes today. So be very aware of that. Equally, there's an important European meeting which the market's watching closely, which there should be some news out on in the next 24 hours or so regarding the Greek bailout. And we all know that this has really driven the markets in recent months, and therefore quite possibly will drive the market again in the very short term. So just be very aware that that meeting is taking place and that news is possibly going to come out. Now looking at the technical. So last week we expected a bit of a rally and a pullback into around about 80 and potentially a sell-off from there. We got that, so it's gone really nicely according to plan last week. Came up, broke just above 80, rejected it, now we're breaking back down. Question is, of course, where do we go next? A few things haven't changed from last week. One is that we've still got conflict with the daily chart looking bearish, which is good. But then we've also got the monthly chart looking particularly bearish, which hasn't changed at all from last week. Then we've still got a bullish looking weekly chart, which is in a short-term uptrend here. That's unlikely to change anytime soon. So we do have some conflict. I'm swaying towards the most information I can get, which is going to be the daily and the monthly, both looking bearish. And if the weekly, of course, comes into line with that in the coming weeks, well, it will be looking even better. But for now, I am swaying to the short side, undoubtedly. Now, there's a few things. Firstly, let's look at an exception to that. And an exception will be if the weekly chart really can rally up and break up through last week's highs, then there'll be very little stopping it coming up towards 82 and testing these highs up here again. So I don't believe that it'll happen. In fact, my view this week is to the downside. However, if it does break up above last week's highs, and let's get precise with the highs there, the high last week was 80.24. So if we see 80.25, I do think we'll be more than likely coming and pushing on back up, maybe up towards 82. And 81 obviously being a little bit of resistance on the daily chart on the way up there. However, I think the most likely scenario for this week is now a breakdown. Let's start with the daily chart here and look at it. We came up, we pulled into 80, which was significant resistance. We rejected almost immediately within that day. And we've now just managed to break down through the low of that candle. This is now looking to me, it's a very bearish sign, and now looking like it should be coming back down and at least testing this 78.50 support, which has come in, and probably more likely down towards 78 and actually making a lower low, which is what any typical downtrend will do. In fact, what any downtrend will do, that is the definition. We've just made lower highs, we should now come down and break and make lower lows. So there is a little bit of support there. That's why I say at the very least I think we'll test 78.50. In fact, though, with it being now moving into a decent looking downtrend, we should at least test 78 before having another bounce. So I am bearish. I'm bearish on it for the short term. I'm also bearish on the US dollar for the long term based on this monthly chart. I think we could be coming down and testing 74 over the next, say, 4 to 6 months. However, it is early days, and just looking at it for this week, moving down towards 78. Being aware of 78.50 and looking for any bounces off that level, I wouldn't be expecting any major bounces there. Looking at this on a daily chart, and let's think what might happen if that weekly scenario played out, which would switch us to bullish. If we did move down just a little bit here and then rally and then broke up through this high of last week, then we would have put in a higher low and broken to a higher high on a daily chart, which would now mean we had a bullish daily and weekly. In the meantime, like I said, the daily chart remains in a downtrend. We don't know what will happen, but we can go with probabilities, more than likely down than up. Monthly chart in a downtrend, more than likely down than up. And weekly, as bullish as it may be, it has just pulled back, and it would have to break up through those highs to confirm any strong uptrend. Looking very quickly at a couple of the spot currencies, Euro dollar backs up the view of a short-term decline in the US dollar. This is looking bullish on euro dollar, and in fact what we're seeing on the monthly chart is it looks like we're just getting this bounce up 1.3 with a bullish candle last month and a breakout through that high, just showing a potentially bullish euro and therefore weak US dollar. A couple of other things, even though they are very, very minor in terms of the overall influence on the US dollar and particularly the dollar index, but the Australian dollar looks particularly strong this week. Very, very bullish pattern here, consolidated and breaking up, as does the New Zealand dollar. Both of these, which are up around about 1% already in the very early hours of trading this week, with news out of China over the weekend. New Zealand dollar looking particularly bullish as well, with a weak US dollar likely just to encourage that move up even further. So coming back to the dollar index, it continues to look bearish, looking for 78.50 and even 78. 78.50 a bit more realistic for this week. Not looking for any huge moves, just a nice, slow, steady decline. And overall in the longer term, waiting for the weekly chart to come into that view as well, and when and if that does happen, we'll have a lot more conviction to the downside. Happy trading on. I hope that helps, and I'll look forward to speaking to you all on next week's update.